Following the global climate strikes in the lead up to the United Nations General Assembly last week, the Embassy of Sweden in South Africa has decided to take it a notch up in efforts to make positive change. From the 30th of September to the 6th of October, the Embassy will join in the Global European Union Climate Diplomacy Week in the hashtag 7-Day Challenge, which challenges global citizens to make conscious choices in what they call the Eat, Move and Live Sustainably effort. We're joined now by the Swedish Ambassador to South Africa, Her Excellency Cecilia Julin. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope I didn't mangle your name there.
No, perfect.
Thank you so much for making the time this morning. What is this all about?
Well, first and foremost, thank you very much for having me and for having the embassy here. Well, this is a challenge, the 7-day challenge that Swedish embassies around the world are carrying out. We're doing it here in South Africa for the second year in a row. And I would say very much inspired by the last few weeks, the global climate strike and of course our own Greta Thunberg and Fridays for the Climate.
How awesome is she? She's from Sweden, by the way.
She's Swedish. We're very proud of her.
I dare ask our producers if they're able to, of course, to just pick up that clip of her speaking at UNGA, if we're able to during this conversation. You know, if she was awesome.
Yeah, she is awesome. It is, and I think she has been an inspiration. Well, we've seen she's been an inspiration all around the world for the marches on Fridays. But this has inspired us to the 7-day challenge, which is really to make everyone think of how can I or we contribute to a more sustainable living, a more climate-friendly living, and really to focus on how do we eat, how do we live, how do we move.
Decisions taken at an individual level.
Yes. Yeah. So I mean, eating-wise, I'm going to be a vegetarian for the coming week. Some in the embassy are even going full-scale vegans.
Wow. So measurable actions within that 7 days.
Yes, yes.
Hopefully you can sustain them beyond the 7 days.
Yeah, I think that's the whole idea. We challenge people to change their living pattern for 7 days, but obviously we hope that will start a process, that you start thinking, what can I do?
And just excite you
maybe
about further prospects.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also how you move. I mean, maybe you can walk to work, you can go by public transport, you can carpool if it's necessary to go by car. Some of us are going to try to walk this week. Some will be biking and others are already going with public transport to work. But it's just to start a thought process.
What are Sweden's climate challenges?
Well, we are lucky. We have a lot of hydropower and we still have nuclear power. But the government took a new climate framework legislation in 2017 that sort of has the aim or our ambition is to be emission neutral by 2045. And from there we will go actually negative in emissions. But I mean, we have the same challenges as the rest of us.
So what kind of conversations are you having with South Africa regarding climate change?
Well, we have a very high-level binational commission with sort of different committees, and one of the committees deals with environment, climate and energy. And of course, we're hoping when we have our next binational commission within the next few months, to sign a memorandum of understanding on energy specifically, so we can really get started in cooperating.
Because of course energy is a big conversation here in South Africa.
It is.
The prospects of changing over from coal to solar or having a mixed energy strategy. What advice are you giving South Africa?
Well, I think hopefully, if I may brag a little bit again, Sweden is now a diplomatic trailblazer in South Africa. Tomorrow we will switch in our residence to solar power. We have covered the whole roof.
100%?
100% solar power. So that means that we will be saving 12 tons on CO2 emissions, which means that over 600 trees are now free to absorb.
So you're walking the talk?
Yeah, we're walking the talk. We're trying to do. And I know South Africa has a challenge. I mean, you're a coal-producing country, so I mean, we have to think of how can we make maybe coal more environmentally friendly. In Sweden, the mining industry is now switching to using a coal-free mining. So I mean, I think we need between countries. We need to talk about this and find solutions jointly.
So beyond the climate, we're just taking the benefit of having you here, beyond the climate and environmental conservation conversation, Take us into the diplomatic relationship of South Africa and Sweden and its history.
Well, we do have a long history. Sweden was one of the sort of largest supporters in the struggle against apartheid, not only to the ANC but also to the struggle that took place inside the country. I mean, Oliver Tambo and Olof Palme were actually very good personal friends and sort of discussed for many years how we could help and how to develop the struggle. So that, I think, has given us a good basis. So we have, I would say, excellent diplomatic relations. Actually, our two government leaders, President Ramaphosa and the Swedish Prime Minister, were co-authors of the International Labour Organization's report on the future of work. How do we meet the challenges of the fourth industrial revolution? So I would say we have very good relations.
So I'm going to put you on the spot. We're wrapping up Heritage Month, and the theme is just to look at literature, especially South African literature, and highlight the richness of that space. Do you have any books you can suggest to our viewers that talks about the history of South Africa and Sweden, especially that era that you're talking about of Olof Palme and his relationships with the Tambo family and many other diplomats in South Africa who have highlighted that relationship in their books, in their stories?
Well, I'm very proud to say there's a Swedish author, Per Westberg, who actually gave the Nadine Gordimer lecture earlier in August, who's written a lot about Sweden and South Africa. A lot of it's sort of fiction, but based on the struggle. Then we hopefully will be launching later this year a book written by a former Deputy Minister, Bengt Säve Söderberg, that really talks about Sweden's support to liberation in Southern Africa, but a large part of it in South Africa.
Totally awesome. So we have to wrap up the conversation. My producers are telling me to, just quickly, how do people take part in the 7-day challenge? Hashtag
well,
7-day
I think
challenge.
just take the challenge from us. Think of how can you eat more sustainably, how can you move more sustainably.
There's no online community or
well,
any
you
such.
can follow us on Facebook, on Twitter, on our webpage, and get inspired by our examples. So eat vegetarian for the coming week, shower Cape Town showers, less than 2 minutes for the next week, and take the train or the bus instead of your car.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Excellency Cecilia Julin is the ambassador of Sweden to South Africa. As you heard it, you can take the hashtag 7-day challenge. See how far you can go.